Hey guys, Zane from the Infinite Jukebox here with another quick album review, and today I wanted to talk about the new King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard record, PetroDragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of Eternal Night, and Annihilation of Planet Earth, and the Beginning of Merciless Damnation. Yes, I memorized that. No, I'm not happy about it. Listen, man, I like this King Gizzard band. I really do. But they gotta either shorten their name or shorten their album titles. You cannot have both. I refuse to let them have both. The chameleon-esque nature of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, a major selling point for much of their cult-like fan base, is something that has perhaps never been on more obvious display than their transition, suddenly, from psychedelic pop and psychedelic rock to just full-on stoner metal, thrash metal, with 2019's hugely beloved Infest the Rat's Nest. After taking a break from these thrashy influences to approach a variety of other genres, as King Gizzard often does when they experiment with new sounds, it seemed like they finally went back and took a step in the metal direction once again, based on some tracks on 2022's Omnium Gatherum, one of my favorite albums of that given year, and really it just only seemed like a matter of time until King Gizzard finally put out another record of just non-stop free-for-all metal from front to back. Thanks to the release of PetroDragonic Apocalypse, the day that many have been waiting for, the day for King Gizzard to finally wander back to their own unique epic take on meat and potatoes metal, has finally come, once again. Except the thing is, this is about as straightforward as Voivod or some other form of left-field metal. In fact, this isn't meat and potatoes at all. Look, I like Infest the Rat's Nest as much as the next King Gizzard fan. Really, I do. I think it's a fantastic record, and I highly recommend it if you haven't heard it yet. But at the same time, it's a very straightforward album. I think most people can agree on that, and this record just really isn't, and I mean that in a very good way. Whereas their previous experiments in metal have felt more like them dipping their toes into the water just to see how far they can push the envelope of metal in the context of their own sound, while maintaining the ability to show off their technical chops, this record feels like King Gizz just diving straight first, swan diving even, into a pool of metal. Really just no turning back on this one. This is them fully committing to the bit, if you will. I mean, sure, you can say that they've done it in the past, fully committing to a metal sound, but this really kind of feels like they don't care about what the reception is or anything like that. This isn't an experimentation, this is just King Gizzard doing metal and not caring about what anybody says besides them. I mean, the record itself is compositionally complex to the point that I'm comfortable calling this progressive metal, technical thrash metal, progressive thrash metal, whatever phrase or term you want to use. But at the same time, it's not so overly polished that it loses any sense of rawness, something that it desperately needs, and something that it absolutely has. Meanwhile, it's executed so consistently well that everything here feels utterly essential. Even some of the synths that pop up towards the end of the song Flamethrower, the final proper track on most versions of the record besides the vinyl version, which has a bonus cut on it, are well done. They feel necessary for the ending of Flamethrower, and although synthesizers in general don't really seem to fit into metal unless it's some sort of stadium metal, the context of thrash here works really well. It feels like it shouldn't, but it does. And that's because the record itself really does feel like it has an apt title. It does feel apocalyptic, just not in the way that you might expect based on the term apocalyptic alone. This doesn't feel grand in its hopelessness or anything like that. It feels over the top and kind of self-aware. To really get my point across for anyone else out there that consumes way too much media for their own good, some people might walk into this expecting the kind of post-apocalypse of The Road by Cormac McCarthy, rest in peace, but this is Mad Max. This is Mad Max through and through. I mean, this record verges on self-parody at times, the way that it conveys this dense, yet at the same time light-hearted musical narrative over the course of its entire runtime, and generally speaking, it feels like because of that, it shouldn't really work. It obviously sounds like King Gizzard absolutely know what they're doing on this record, and because of that, it just shouldn't work out as well as it does, but the thing is that it works out beautifully. I mean, this entire thing on paper feels like a cheesy 80s action flick, when in reality it actually comes across more as like an intelligently made art house film that happens to be made during the apocalypse, and that's enough of me comparing this to other random forms of media, but I think you get my point. Great vocal and instrumental performance work from each of these 6 different members of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard only further demonstrates how brightly they can shine in the context of them experimenting with metal. PetroDragonic Apocalypse is a great record, and it's also just about as telling as the future of King Gizzard as any other record by them is. Absolutely just not at all. The release schedule and genre hopping of King Gizz are again part of the appeal, and they're also equally chaotic in nature. They're just completely unpredictable in every way. I mean, guessing what King Gizz are gonna do next is sort of like putting on a blindfold and throwing a dart at a world map and just like hoping it lands on France or like Hungary or something, when in reality you just like didn't even hit the map and they just hit you with something completely unexpected. If they do a reggae album next, I'll just be like, yeah, okay, I guess. Look, this band drives me absolutely insane, and I mean that in the best possible way. I really, really, really do. And the thing is, no one's gonna know what they're gonna do next until they choose to show it to the world. So, for the time being, until the next King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard record comes out, which, if I'm being realistic, is probably like 2 days from now or whatever, because God knows when they want to release their next album, this will probably be one of the best metal albums to be made this century thus far by a band that's not even a metal band. And while it sounds very specific, it's something that King Gizzard can lay claim to nonetheless. I'm going to give this record 4 stars out of 5. And with that being said, that's the end of this quick album review. I've been Zane from the Infinite Jukebox. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.